the 3rd, 2026, and you are watching Live with Omar on a Friday edition. I would say, really, it is Fridays with Omar. It's usually Sundays with Omar, but the reason why I'm doing this now is because the weekend, of course, is upon us. The holiday weekend is upon us, and I will not be doing one of these this coming Sunday. So that's why I wanted to do this now. I want to thank you for joining. Hello, Ginger, and hello to those of you who are also coming in or who are watching this later on. I just wanted to spend a few minutes with you quickly reflecting, talking about this weekend that we have coming. Laura, thank you for joining us. Because I want to just say a few things very quickly as you enjoy your holiday weekend. I'm going to also be recommending a few books as well, before saying good afternoon or good morning to you, wherever you may be. So, Ginger, hello to you. Thank you very much, Ginger. My name is Omar, just again as a reminder. The reason I'm coming on here is because I wanted to say, hey, I'm not going to be doing one of these this coming Sunday, but I will be doing it today. I wanted to talk about this weekend. Now, I don't know, whatever you choose to do for July 4th is absolutely up to you. I've made it very clear on the podcast that I do that I am not celebrating the 250th mark of this country. And not because I just don't want to do it. There's got very good reasons why. This is not a holiday for Black people at all. We've contributed mightily to this country. We built this place. We really have, and we built this place. And but I'm not celebrating the 250-year mark at all. Um, but whatever you choose to do it safely, do it responsibly, have a good time. For me, July 4th is about celebrating Black people, celebrating our accomplishments and achievements, celebrating our spirit, our resilience, our ability to fight back and to prevail in adverse times, and the ingenuity and the intelligence and innovation of our people. And I'm going to be spending this weekend saluting that, and being around like-minded people and around family and friends. I mean, this is what for me July 4th is about, and I look forward to doing that and reflecting about this country. Hello, Luis Gonzalez. Hello, Professor Omar. Luis Gonzalez says, thank you, Luis. It's really, I really appreciate that. I certainly don't know everything, but I like to think I know a few things. Thank you, Luis. I really appreciate that. Luis Gonzalez, hello to you. Great to have you here. Um, so, whatever you choose to do, please do it safely. As I said, I'm going to point to just reflecting on what we as Black people have accomplished in this country and what we've done and how we've made this country what it is. And in fact, if it wasn't for Black people, this country really wouldn't be much of anything in its present iteration. Obviously, Native Americans, this is their country and their land. But of course, before 1776, you know what happened in this country, and you know that there were Native Americans, of course, who were genocided, and there were millions of Black people kidnapped from the African continent and brought here in chains and made enslaved and were enslaved, and for 244 years. So, this is something that's really is definitely important to talk about, reflect on, and read books about. And one of the things I like to do is go back to some of the books that you see on the shelf behind me and kind of read through just to remind myself, not that I've forgotten, of course, but just to remind myself, just to kind of, check back in and reflect and look at some of the great works that people who you see on the shelf behind me, on the bookshelf behind me, have written about. And, I'm going to get into that now briefly. And Luis Gonzalez says, you know a lot about politics, history, music, and sports. Thank you. Thank you, Luis. Luis, I appreciate that. Thank you. You see some of these books behind me. Um, One of the books that I would love for you to read, in case you haven't already, is this one. You see that? It's called A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. And it's a book that I first read in, I think, was it high school or maybe college? Many years ago. This is the book that brings you the unvarnished truth, the actual, the real deal about what the history of this country is. And Howard Zinn, who is no longer with us, fantastic book, and I really do recommend it. I also recommend a number of books by Gerald Horne, which I haven't brought his books out here. They're in another area. Gerald Horne has written a number of excellent books about the United States. You can talk about the counter revolution of 1836. He's written about the counter revolution of 1776, an uprising of enslaved black people. That's a really great book as well. Gerald Horne, his last name is spelled Horn, as in North E. Gerald, Gerald. Professor Gerald Horne. That brother has been around for a long time documenting history. He's a fantastic historian. And so I should have brought his books out here before I started this, but I strongly recommend that you read his works. He is superb. D, hello to you. Hey, Omar, says D. You're back home safely, I see. Yes, I am. I got back last week, and I'm still adjusting to the West Coast again. It's just funny. As at least as I get older, I don't know about UD or anyone else watching this, but as I get older, when I'm traveling out of time zones, whether it's even within the country or outside this country, it does take me a lot longer to just get acclimatized back to the time zones. And it was only the East Coast, it was New York City, and yet it has taken me, I think, more than a week to get adjusted back. So, D, thank you for that. It's good to see you as always. Vicky, hello to you. It's always great to see you, Vicky. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Uh, One of the great members of Substack. I love to say hello to Vicky. Thank you, Vicky, for support and for being here. Good morning from California, says Stacy from California. Thank you. Good morning, Omar. She says, Stacy, thank you. Good morning to you as well. I'm doing this today, of course, because on Sunday I'm not going to be doing one of these. Owing to the holiday weekend, I decided to do it today. I do endeavor to not keep you for very long today, but it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much, everybody, for checking in. And I was talking about Gerald Horne's books that I think, well, I know I'll be rereading portions of some of his books that I've just mentioned to you. Gerald Horne, who's written books like The Counter Revolution of 1836, The Counter Revolution of 1776. Both of those books are really important. And I talked about this book as well. Another few books I want to just point to. One of them, a very important one, is this one, Before the Mayflower. I've talked about books like this before. I've talked about this before, but it's worth reminding people. While people may be celebrating, observing tomorrow, this book is one that people need to be familiar with. Before the Mayflower by Lerone Bennett Jr. It's a history of Black America. This is indispensable. You can see my copy is a little bit beaten up because I've had it for many years. I've had this for probably about this book that you see me in my hand with. I've had it for over 40 years. So, it's a little bit beaten up here, but it's a must read. Okay. So one of the things I'll be doing, over the weekend, over, today, tomorrow, and Sunday is again reading portions of these books just as a reminder, again, not that I've forgotten, but just to kind of, you know, keep this in mind. We can't forget this. People are going to be celebrating tomorrow as if none of this ever happened, as if this was all invisible, as if Black people were invisible, as if our sweat equity and our 244 years of enslavement building this place somehow didn't happen or didn't matter, right? So this is a really important book. And one or two others. This is a great book. It's called A Protest History of the United States. It's written by Gloria Brown Marshall. This is a great sister. She's a tremendous historian. Um, if you really want to know about the protest movement in this country, or if you think that protest is somehow something that just happened this week, with the sergeant, with the major of the Air Force, Jason Watson, no, you'd be wrong, obviously. Protest has been the very fabric of this country. Nonviolent protest and violent protest. Look at the Boston Tea Party, right? That really was the precursor. right? And other types of uprisings, right? And then look at the peaceful protest and nonviolent civil disobedience in this country. Dr. King, Rosa Parks, Claudette Colvin, so many others. This book details a lot of that and a whole lot more. Gloria Brown Marshall, A Protest History of the United States. I've actually given away a copy of this to a paid subscriber. I forget how many months ago it was. It might have been actually late last year, if it wasn't this year. So it does really pay to become a paid subscriber because they give these kinds of things away. And I'll be doing more giveaways. I'll talk about giveaways in a few minutes. But this too is a very important book, A Protest History of the United States by Gloria Brown Marshall. She is, I'll show you a picture of the sister here. That is her there. I'd love to get her on to talk about this book. And thank you for the hearts, by the way. I appreciate this very much. So I'd love to get her on to talk about this book. She's a tremendous historian, and I really like this book a great deal, and I recommend it to you. So that's that. And then the last one, at least for now, that I'm going to talk about is this one here. People will be talking about 1776 tomorrow, but I'm going to be focusing on this. This coffee table book, which is quite heavy because it's a coffee table book. um, I mean, this book here is a really important book. And of course, Nicole Hannah Jones, who writes with the New York Times, and a group of other people put this together. And gosh, I wish I could show you all of this. Um, Let me see if I can squeeze part of this into the picture. So part of this is one of the two pages in the book. I don't know if you can see that. Um, but this book is really, really important, obviously. 1619, August of 1619 was, of course, the first known time, although there may even have been some before this, that there were enslavement ships that brought black people from the African continent over to Jamestown, Virginia. That is the year, and that August 1619 date is the time at which the first enslavement, the ships that carried black people who were enslaved, were brought here to the United States, to specifically Jamestown, Virginia, before it was called the United States. But that's what this book focuses on, right? And a lot more as well, in addition to that. So, this is a tremendous coffee table book. I'm not going to be giving this one away, but this is a really great history of the United States from the time that we, as Black people, our ancestors, were brought over to these shores in chains, through the Middle Passage, and through obviously the most treacherous conditions in the Middle Passage, in the hulls of slave ships, of enslavement ships. So this is important history, and this country would be nowhere without Black people. It would not. I mean, that's just a fact. It's just a truth. And tomorrow, if you are going to be someone who celebrates the 250th year of this country, it would really behoove you to really focus on how this country became what it is, or what it was, how the country developed, and and what happened, who built this place, who made the contributions. And there are, of course, other groups, the Chinese with the railroads. I can go through all the list, but who are the people? I mean, 244 years of enslavement, and never any compensation, right? And never any apologies, even. Um, and we're still waiting for compensation, still waiting for our 40 acres and a mule. So that's why as a Black man, as a Black person, I cannot celebrate July 4th, or the 250th year. It's just me. But everybody has a different perspective on it, of course, and I respect yours, whatever your perspective is on tomorrow. And I just think it's just worth mentioning that. So those are the books that I wanted to point you to. The other thing I wanted to say is that this morning, the New York City mayor, Zoran Mamdani, gave I think, a very good speech around this country and around the US of A, specifically, obviously, this country, and around the meaning of July 4th. And I thought that his words this morning were very necessary and very needed. And they gave the appropriate amount of leadership that we don't have in this country. But Zoran Mamdani certainly, I think, is really moving forward in a very positive and affirmative way. And when a leader moves forward with things that people like, the people will follow those leaders. And particularly if that leader speaks to the best in people. Now, of course, we've seen people, and we still have people who speak to the worst in people, and you'll have people follow them too. But that's only true in an absence of leadership that appeals to people's better angels. So when you have someone like a Zoran Mamdani or a VP Harris, or whomever your person is that you like, right? I'm just putting names out there. Um, who I think do appeal to your better angels. But when you have people who do that, who are in power, who do that, um, more often than not, people are going to follow behind them. And we're seeing this all over the country, right? We're seeing what's been happening all over the country with people who are being elected in places that you might not expect. But when you can't possibly go much worse than this regime has in the last 18, 19 months, almost 18 months now, when you can't possibly get any lower than this regime has put this country into, at least in this modern period, because there are regimes before this that have been far worse, by the way, than this regime has. But when you can't possibly go too much lower, you're going to have a backlash and a counteraction with leaders who are going to be elected, who people look to and who people believe in, and who are speaking to the needs of the people, like a Zoran Mamdani, like the woman down in Miami who became the mayor in Miami at the end of last year. You're going to have this. It's not going to be, and I've said this before on Substack and anywhere else anyone would even dare listen or watch. I've said this many times. You can't, after this regime is moved on, no matter what comes after that, that cannot be an incremental push just a little bit to the left. I hate to use those terms now, but it can't be a little bit back to where we were prior to Donald Trump. And in fact, whatever comes next cannot be what we had before Obama, what we had during Obama. It has to be a complete pendulum swing all the way over to the opposite end. That's my view. But we can't just wish that into existence. We have to vote that into existence. We have to place demands and demand that into existence. I think that those things are really, really important. And so people are deciding that they're not voting for people who are just going to move the needle just a little bit this way again. People are beginning to gravitate toward those folks like a Zoran Mamdani, and I'm sticking to New York here with these examples, like a Zoran Mamdani, like a Brad Lander, like an Anna, I forget her name now. I forget her name. I forget her first name. Miss Chavez, like her, like Claire Valdez. People are beginning to look at those who really do speak to their needs. Now, again, I'm speaking about New York City there, but there are trends of this in other places. And as I've said before, there are also places in the country where this may not happen in the same way. But you're seeing in places like Colorado, where Michael Bennet, the senator, lost his primary to someone who is perceived as more of a fighter than he. They may not be people who are just so called radicals, but people who have a bit more fight in them, people who really do speak to the people more than the moderation crowd. And I'm not pinging too many arrows at the moderation crowd, but what I'm saying is that there are people who need to be a bit more full throated about where they stand. And Democrats, some Democrats, have not been doing that. And what you're seeing is something that's been an age-old problem in the Democratic Party, where you have the centrist and the establishment crowd, and then you have the so-called insurgents, or that's a horrible word, but people who want a bit more, want to be a bit more progressive, a bit more forward-thinking. And those folks, the forward-thinking folks, are routinely kneecapped in Democratic circles. And now you're beginning to see, slowly but surely in this country, people who are voting for folks who are a bit more uh, to the progressive side of things. We've seen the mayor of Seattle. I know Seattle's more of a progressive city, but I'm just throwing out examples. The mayor of Seattle, a so-called quote unquote socialist mayor. You're seeing what's happened, as I said, in Colorado, in Miami, in all of these different places. In Iowa, we're seeing this. In Texas, we're seeing some of this in smaller local races. And all of these examples aren't exact and equal, but those examples do signify shifts within the electorate toward not just Democrats, but also now more so towards Democrats who are really going to put the establishment on notice, whether it's a Democratic establishment or an American establishment or an anything establishment. So these are the moments now where we have to demand more of our elected leaders. And Dee's just talked about this too. I was going to get to this, Dee. You just anticipated me. Black people now have to take front and center, pushing these folks and demanding of them that they speak to issues that are of a black agenda, and that our vote is not going to be taken for granted. And all of these folks who are standing and saying that they're more forward thinking are going to have to really listen and be heard from. We have to make sure that we keep pushing these people, and we need to hear what their plan is for Black people, what their agenda items are. Now, listen, most leaders are not going to come out and say, "Well, this is my agenda plan for this group or this group or this group." Now, some do. We've seen Harris put out plans individually, as she did in 2024, for Latinos, for black men specifically. But many leaders don't do that. But I think we're in an age now where we have to demand that they do that. We have to demand that those plans get put out there. And the reality is, as we all know, as the centrist Democratic leadership and the establishment leadership in the Democratic Party knows, this country is going to be more black and more brown in about 20 years. It's literally going to be more black and brown. It's going to be a majority brown and black country. And this is very, very important. And what you're seeing now in the Democratic Party with the establishment are the folks like Jim Carville, people like him, right, are these white dinosaurs who now realize that the shit's hit the fan, and they're now realizing that this is some serious stuff. And the language now that's being used by people like James Carville and people like Jamie Harrison as well, um, is, "Oh, you hate us. You hate the Democrats." It's like, no, we don't hate the Democrats. As I said on my podcast episode yesterday, it's not about us hating the Democrats. Black people have never had an allegiance to a political party. What we have had and what we continue to have is an allegiance to our black agenda and making sure that there is a political party that brings that agenda to the table and is committed to doing those things on that agenda that we are fighting for. That's what we have allegiance to. We don't have an allegiance to the Democrats or to the Republicans. In fact, neither of those parties have ever really had a true allegiance to us as black people. So, this notion that in some black circles, these trolls online who say, "Oh, you're just shilling for the Democrats," they say this of Roland Martin. Roland Martin and people like myself and people like you out there are saying, "No, we're not shilling for any Democrats." This is not a pom pom contest where we're, jockeying for popularity status. This is absolutely about the issues and the policies and the agenda that we care about and that we fight for. And as I've said many times here, the black agenda helps black people, but the black agenda also helps everyone else. It does. It does. Study history. We fight for ourselves and, quite frankly, everyone else. But many people don't fight for us. I've said this many times before, right? And as D writes, that part, Omar, listen to black folks. We hitch your wagon to the party. We hitch our wagon to the party who will carry our agenda forward. Exactly, D. That's precisely right. And the thing is that this is why people have to listen to us. We're the ones that drive this thing. We're the ones that vote the right way, the correct way. We're the ones overwhelmingly who vote for the right policies, for the pro people policies in this country. And many white people do not. Most white people don't vote for, especially in presidential elections, most white people do not vote for pro people policies. They vote for anti people policies. They vote for inhumane policies. It's just a fact. Go look at the statistics. Go look at these presidential elections and what the majority of white voters, male and female, who vote for. So, the thing is that this is where this is now. And progressive, because listen, I have some, even I say the word progressive, but I have issues with some progressives, some white progressives, many of them who are, they don't want to talk about race. They don't want to talk about a black agenda. There's Bernie Sanders, who I used to support before I saw what was going on with him, who will not talk about race in any real way, will not talk about black empowerment. But then again, quite frankly, why would I expect an 86-year-old white man who, has got lots of money and is very well off, very comfortable, to ever talk about black empowerment? Why should I? I mean, I would like that to happen, but I'm not waiting for it to happen. And so, there's some white progressives who always bear their ass when it comes to black voters or black candidates. How many times have we seen on social media, whether it's trolls or bots or AI or real people who would attack black female candidates? We're real, these so-called progressives, white progressives who say, that they're for all of these great things. They come online, some of them, and they attack black candidates. Jasmine Crockett, I can go through all the list. Ooh, Jasmine Crockett, oh, she does this, she does that, telling lies on her in the name of being a white progressive. So we've seen that movie many times, folks. And we as black people have to be rigidly true to our agenda. And we have to make demands on people. I don't care who they are, whether they're black candidates, white candidates, whomever. We've got to make demands. And identity politics is always around. D points out anybody saying ditch identity politics is suspect. I mean, identity politics is all around us. But the thing is that what I don't like about that phrase is it pretends as if white people are not also an identity. I can't. In fact, I threw it out a few minutes before I started this. There's a magazine, New York Times magazine from last year, with the actor and rapper Riz Ahmed. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's been in a number of films over the years. He's a rapper as well, and he's done some great work on film, including an Oscar nomination that he got a year or two ago for a film that he did. And on the cover of that magazine, the Sunday New York Times magazine from 2025, it said, "Oh, identity politics should not be, he shouldn't have to talk about his identity, but identity politics in this age is here." And the thing is that people, usually white people, say the word identity politics as a smear to people who are not white, people who are black, brown, etc. But the thing is that you would never have a cover of the New York Times magazine say with Matt Damon on the front of it, because of course he's got a movie coming out very soon called The Odyssey, right? You'd never have a New York Times cover for a Sunday magazine with Matt Damon on the front of it, the white man, Matt Damon, on the front of it with the words identity politics. But Matt Damon shouldn't have to talk about identity politics because, that's not going to be on the front cover of a New York Times Sunday magazine, right? But identity politics is all of us, white people included, which is a point that I just see that D has also made. So this term to me is, quite frankly, it's a stupid term because, yeah, we all have an identity. White billionaires, that's identity politics. you know Elon Musk. I mean, so the term to me is superfluid, is kind of superfluous and redundant, but the thing is that it's used as a smear. So that's what I wanted to talk about briefly, about the politics and about the scene and about our dedication as black people to upholding and uplifting a black agenda, making sure that we do this on the local level as well, making sure that we are heard, making sure that the people who we're demanding of us do the things that we need them to do. We need to organize, we need to get involved locally, we need to engage with like-minded people in our neighborhoods, in our communities, online, but we also need to do the work offline and keep doing this on a local level as well as on every other level. Very, very important, folks. I think for me, tomorrow as well will be about engagement. Engagement. As I said, with family, friends, engagement with the mission of what we need to be doing, and really contemplating what the next steps have to be. Because again, sometimes it's only one or two people who put their necks out, and then people follow or they don't. I talked about Jason Watson earlier. Jason Watson is not the first person. Look, he may be the first person to have called for the impeachment of someone while in his dress blues. While he's actively serving, but he's not the first in the tradition of protest and dissent. What could be more American than dissent and protest? What's more? I mean, there's a lot of things that are more American than that, actually. I mean, that's why I wrote this post yesterday on Substack. Put a post out that said, "As American as?" question mark. Nobody answered it, but on other social media platforms, people gave a litany of responses to it. And none of their responses was apple pie. Let me put it that way. Okay. But one of the things that is quintessentially American, is protest, as I've just talked about with some of the books that I've shown you. All right. And this guy, Jason Watson, is not the first. And I don't think he'll be the last. We can go to Fannie Lou Hamer. We can go to Claudette Colvin. We can go to Rosa Parks, Dr. King. I can go with John Lewis. I go through a million people, and even way before them too. So this is something that people have to understand. This is not in a vacuum, okay? And you've got to remember that the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, didn't even include black folk. In fact, it counted us as three-fifths of a human being, and the three-fifths compromise, right? That was in the Declaration of Independence, folks. So when that document was drawn up in the late 1700s, we were deemed three-fifths of a human being. So people have to understand these things. This is, and many of us are still being treated as three-fifths of a human being. And one of the things I'll also be thinking about, tomorrow, is I'll be thinking about all of these black families in this country, all the black men and women who've lost hundreds of thousands of jobs. Black men and black women have been laid off to many hundreds of thousands of jobs each. I think of the family of the brother Carmelo Anthony. I think of that brother. I think of the brother Cyrus Carmack Belton. I think about him and how in South Carolina he was gunned down by an Asian grocery store owner. I'm thinking about people like this on a July 4th, and many other people who have been taken from our communities in whatever way, shape, or form. So those are things I wanted to hit on. Um, Again, I do hope that you enjoy whatever you're doing tomorrow. Do it safely. Please, please, please do that. One last thing I want to do, because I'm not going to be doing this live on Sunday. What I'm going to be doing, uh, giveaways again. I will be giving away things again. Um, because, and you may not be a fan, but I am going to be giving away New York Knicks t-shirts and things. Um, and maybe you're not a New York Knicks fan, but I will be giving away to paid subscribers only, of course, different t-shirts, large, I think extra large, um, and maybe double X. But I've got some t-shirts I got recently bought, and these are some of the championship shirts. I think this one's an extra large or large. Okay, this is a large one, right? So I'll be giving away these to paid subscribers. Here's another one. I think this one's an extra large. This one here It's got still got the sticker. I should take the stickers off, but this one here too. I think this is an XL, right? And then there's another one here. I think this is a double X. So I'll be giving away, things like this in the next few weeks. Not now, but in the next few weeks, be giving away hats. Like this one, the championship hat. So if you know any New York Knicks fans who would like to join in this, they're more than welcome to, but they have to be paid subscribers because I only give these away to paid subscribers. So even if you're not a Knicks fan, if you want a little bit of a taste of the championship that the New York Knicks won last month in the NBA after 53 years of hardship, getting another championship again, please become a paid subscriber because I give all these kinds of things away. And I'm giving away a few more things Knicks related. Tomorrow, I will have out a pictorial and an essay about New York and about the Knicks and about, myself being in New York and talking a little bit about that and giving you some more pictures. But this will be for everybody. I gave paid subscribers a taste of this a few weeks ago. But for anyone who's a subscriber, um, please stay tuned tomorrow because I'm going to be putting out um, a pictorial, photographs and videos that I've taken around New York City and around the New York Knicks and being in that building at Madison Square Garden 3 weeks ago when that incredible game took place, game four. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit self indulgent. But I'm not going to put pictures of myself all over the thing. It just be one, maybe one or two pictures. Most of the pictures are going to be, most of the pictures are going to be about the city and about little things that I just could not help but take photos of, as I am a photographer as well, among many other things. And so I wanted to share with you, for those of you who aren't in New York, or even if you are in even if you are in New York, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I saw and enjoyed and experienced in that trip to New York last month, which again, it was a fantastic time. And I think even though maybe you're not in New York or not able to get out to New York, perhaps maybe you might appreciate some of this. And it's not about me bragging about New York. It's just here's what I want to share with you about what I saw. Things that I really enjoyed. Maybe you'll enjoy this too. Perhaps maybe you'll go to New York. At some point this year. And by the way, one other thing, can't forget these two things I'm about to say. Number one, if you're in New York City or wherever you may be in the world, but if you're in New York City today, it's supposed to be 102, 103 degrees Fahrenheit today. So I do hope that you are staying cool. I do hope that you are drinking lots of water. I do hope that you are absolutely wearing bright clothing and not wearing dark clothing in this heat because yeah, it's rough out there in New York. And I was over there when I was there, it was 98 degrees one day with the humidity that's trademarked, of course, in New York. But I hope that you do find a way to stay dry, stay cool in the heat, drink lots of water, as I said, and take cold showers or cold baths and sleep on your floor if you can. It might be uncomfortable to do that because heat rises. The heat rises, right? Heat rises. So it's very important that you, if you can, sleep on your floor, have something comfortable on your floor, but sleep on your floor because the heat rises from the floor upwards. And in this heat, in New York and other places around the world, you want to be as close to the ground as possible because it's cooler on the ground than it is when the heat rises. The heat's going to rise up and it's going to get warmer and warmer and warmer in your home as the heat rises. So that's what happens with that. So if you can do things that will keep you cooler, please do. Make sure you also wear sunscreen, even if you're not going out, because you have bright sunshine and it comes in. And, look, it's important to make sure you have sunscreen on. It really is, no matter who you are. Okay. And then lastly, if you have some AC, air conditioning, please make sure you have it on. I know that there's a lot of issues with a lot of electricity bills zooming up, and we know that. But in this heat, you just have to be sensible. If you don't have to be out in this heat, please don't. And again, even if you're not going out, put sunscreen on regardless, inside or outdoors, because you don't have to be at a beach to put sunscreen on. If you're walking outside, put sunscreen on, even if you're not. Sunscreen is really important, and usually SPF 50. Sam Peter Fulton. SPF 50. That's a really good barometer. That's the kind of protection you should be having. And black people's rates of skin cancer are the fastest growing of anybody in this country. So if you're a black person watching, don't think that, hey, I've got the complexion for the protection, which you do, but you need to have sunscreen on, okay? So anyway, I just want to mention all those things for people in New York and people anywhere else in the world. Please be safe out there and take care of yourselves and enjoy whatever you're doing tomorrow. Enjoy, reflect. As I said, these books that I've talked about, please get yourself one or two of these books and read them. Very, very important. Very important. So I think that's going to be it. Kind of looking around and thinking, is there anything else I have to say on this day? Vote, register to vote, check your voter registration at least 2 or 3 times every month. I think that's very important. We know about what the Supreme Court's done. We know about all of that. We know about those situations. And look, um, you have more power than you think you have, okay? I want to remind you of that. You have much more power than you think. And I want you to believe in yourself. Even when others don't believe in you, you are here and you're going to prevail. No matter what you're going through, you're going to keep fighting and you're going to prevail. It may not be easy, it may take time, but I believe in the power of you and I believe that you will persevere. You just have to keep fighting through. Again, there's tremendous challenges that people have. But again, all is not lost, and tough times do not last. Tough people like you do. That is it for this edition of Fridays with Omar, although this is really not the standard edition. It's usually Sundays with Omar. But of course, I'm not doing one of these lives on Sunday this week because, of course, the holiday is here. So be safe, be careful, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.